Hello! So, in this video, I'm going to be discussing my blood work and how prep has affected it. I've had my bloods done 3 weeks post-show, and as soon as my rebound cycle had finished. Now, my rebound cycle was 3 weeks, and that consisted of 300 Primo, 300 milligrams, 300 milligrams of Test E, and 70 milligrams of Tren. So, blood is something I would recommend to everyone who takes steroids. Every single person. I would recommend it to everyone, really, because it's always good to know where your health's at. But if you're assisted, I would recommend getting your bloods done every 3 to 6 months. Ideally, you want to get it done before and after your cycle, and if you really want to keep on top of it, potentially midway through your cycle. And this will give you a perspective of, you know, if you're ready to go on cycle, if you're in a position in regards to your health to go on cycle, it will let you know how the cycle is affecting you and the effects of the full cycle on your health. And then from there, you can decide what you want to do with that information. And if there's anything out of whack, then potentially you can implement something to obviously keep things in range. So I had my bloods done at Medichecks. The bloods that I had done was the Sports Hormone Performance Package. This covers pretty much everything that I would need to know as a bodybuilder in regards to my blood work. So yeah, Medichecks, that is where I had it from. With going through Medichecks, they offer a doctor's note with it, and that will go through your bloods, describing if there are any health concerns, to what extent the health concerns are, and what you could do to get those health markers that are out of range back in range. So that's super duper helpful for those that aren't too familiar with how to read bloods. Alongside this, I had a bodybuilding coach look at my bloods. He's a very renowned coach. Some of you may know him. He is Tom Ames. He has been advising me on gear as of recent. And yes, so he went through the bloods with me. Both the doctor and Tom both said my bloods look pretty decent. And of course, I had a look at the bloods myself, and I was actually shocked at how good my bloods were, considering I've just done a full prep. Now, a bodybuilding prep, drug usage is going to be the highest it's going to be. And with this being my first assisted prep, this is the most I have taken as an individual. So I was expecting not my bloods to be terrible, but worse than they were. So I'm very happy with the results. And of course, I'll go through them now. So as you can see, everything is pretty much in range. So anything that is sort of out of range isn't too much out of range, and the things that are a little bit more out of range than I would like them to be, I'll discuss. But in regards to red blood cells, everything seems to be pretty much in a decent place. White blood cells, again. Clotting status, again, in a good place. Kidney health, again, in a very good place, considering orals were used, and the cycle itself was over 5 months, but pretty much close to 6 months on cycle. Again, this is longer than I would usually be on cycle due to being on prep. So the prep cycle is usually longer. It depends how long you prep. So this is different for different people, and obviously people use different drugs and different amounts depending on the individual. In regards to the liver health, so the only thing that is out of range really is the ALT. Now, that is just due to me being a bodybuilder and having an increased muscle mass. So there isn't anything of concern really there. Proteins, again, in a good place. Diabetes, in a good place, which is good. Cholesterol status. So everything seems to be in a good place apart from the HDL. That is out of range and that's quite low for what I would like it to be. So for those that don't know, LDL is your bad cholesterol. You do not want that to go high because then you're at risk of heart attack, etc. And HDL prevents your LDL from getting too high. Now, my HDL is most likely on the lower end due to me recently coming off cycle and also taking AIs. Arimidex was what I was taking. Now, to rectify this, I am going to be taking fish oils such as omega-3s and also krill oil. I will be having some good fatty foods such as salmon as well. Alongside this, I am going to be taking the on-cycle support from Hustling Labs. There are a bunch of ingredients that help keep your bloods in range, and this has potentially helped my bloods to be in a decent place post-cycle. And featuring that, which will help with my HDL, is citrus bergamot. Again, that will help bring my HDL back up into a normal place. Spending time not on a blast. So currently I have begun TRT, and that is 150 milligrams. I will be taking that for at least 2 months, and I will then take my bloods again to see if those health markers are in range, and that will let me know if my health is in a place to begin another cycle. Moving forward, creatine kinase is on the higher end. Again, that is due to having above average muscle mass for an individual. Again, due to me being a bodybuilder. So another thing that is out of range is my thyroid hormones. Now this is because I was taking T3 and T4, which is thyroid medication. Bodybuilders use this to assist with fat loss in a bodybuilding prep. Now with me only recently coming off the T3 and T4, they are a little bit out of range, and the way to rectify that is just allowing time for them to get back into range. Now, I didn't go too crazy using those drugs, so they aren't too out of whack, and it shouldn't take too long for them to return into the normal ranges, roughly between 2 to 3 weeks, which isn't too long at all. And finally, this next one is the one that has confused me. Confused the fuck out of me, actually. Yeah. So, my estradiol, which is essentially your estrogen, that seems to be in a good place. Not too bad. Testosterone is in range, right? Now, yeah, I'm not really too happy with that. And you're probably thinking, Jack, it's in a healthy range. Why aren't you happy about that? Well, because I've literally just come off cycle to TRT. With what I was taking, it should be above. My testosterone should be in the above ranges, ideally. So this tells me a few things. Potentially, my gear was fake the whole time, which means it potentially was underdosed, which could be contributing to my bloods not being as bad as I thought they were going to be, which, yeah, great, that is definitely a positive, but it also means that what I thought I was taking could have been actually dramatically lower, which, again, isn't a crazy bad thing. The main thing is it's a waste of money, and I could have been actually preventing myself from getting the results that I actually wanted. and it could have skewed my perception of what I was actually taking, which isn't really a great thing. Now, I've been using this particular lab pretty much the whole time I've been assisted. So if that is the case, I have been taking dramatically lower than I thought I have taken. Again, the positives is I've definitely gotten the most out of as little as possible, and I've gotten some decent results, if that is the case, from using very, very little. Now, there are other things that could be contributing to this being within normal ranges, my testosterone, and that could be I'm not an excellent responder for steroids. Now, if you're a hyper responder, for example, someone who responds extremely well to steroids, you can take a little amount and have your testosterone like above ranges. Another thing is, many checks could have got their shit wrong. So the way I'm going to find this out is I'm going to switch over to a different lab for my steroids, and this will pretty much let me know the answer to that, because if I switch over to my TRT and my testosterone is within normal ranges or a little bit higher or whatever, we're pretty much in the same range as it was when I was on cycle, then again, that tells me that potentially the steroids I was taking was massively underdosed. Which again, the optimistic part of that means that I could be a very good responder. If that is the case, and I'm not definitively saying that is the case, but if that is the case, I could be a very good responder to steroids, because if I've been taking an underdosed amount, I'm happy with the response that I've had from the amounts I've taken. So that would mean that by taking the proper amounts, I should elicit a very good response, really. And the amounts that I was taking anyway was nothing dramatic, nothing crazy, because again, I don't want to be pushing steroids to an absolute extreme, really, because health is still a priority for me. Believe it or not, for an assisted bodybuilder, health is a priority for me, and I want to make sure that I am still as healthy as I can be whilst pursuing my goals. So with me not taking a crazy amount and it being underdosed, yeah, I suppose there's a positive. The main thing is the financial loss. I was paying for the full thing and potentially not getting the full thing. So we don't know for certain. So moving on from here, like I say, is TRT for the next couple of months. And I'm just going to be progressive with my training and food in the meantime, whilst keeping a good eye on my composition. I don't want to be too sloppy or anything like that. I'm going to keep it nice and tight for the off season, and then in a couple of months time I will then take my bloods. So thank you everyone for watching. I hope this was a little bit insightful for some of you, and if you've got any questions whatsoever, just pop them in the comment section below, and I will catch you later, guys.